welcome to an update video. And new car reveal. Don't worry, at the end of the video I will be reviewing the new purchase. Before I reveal the new car, I want to talk about my reasons for buying what I bought. So those of you who know me know that I like my classic cars, and up till a few years ago I owned and cherished a 1975 Austin Allegro DL. Love that car. I bought it back in 2014, drove all over the country, and ended up doing quite a bit of work to it, but due to financial circumstances at the time, had to part with it. Really regretted getting rid of it, and didn't think I'd have another one. So since owning that Allegro, I've had a few other classic cars. They've come and gone purely because they didn't gel with me, or they needed more work than perhaps I anticipated in the first place. So I started asking around on the forums, and I put the word out that I was after another Allegro. Didn't hear anything back for a little while, and then somebody came forward saying, "Oh, I've got one for sale." So I asked about the car, and he said, "Well, I actually bought it for spares a few years ago. It was off the road, and has been off the road since 1982. So it was only actually on the road for 3 years. Real low mileage barn find. You couldn't find a better car." I was actually gobsmacked when he said he bought it for spares, but on finding the vehicle, he realised how good it was, and obviously then couldn't break it. So he sat on it for a couple of years, put it through an MOT. It failed in a couple of bits like brakes, which you wouldn't expect of a car that's been laid up for that long, and did a few bits to it, and then decided that he put it up for sale. This is where I stepped in. So I've now bought the car. It's at home in my garage. The recovery didn't quite go according to plan. We did plan to drive it back, but due to the fact it's been off the road for so long, despite the fact it was running and driving it, still needed a bit of tinkering. So we abandoned that idea, and I got it recovered home after a bit of confusion. If you've got any basic knowledge of mechanics, it's such a simple little car to maintain and keep on top of, and parts actually aren't that hard to get hold of. There's a huge spares club dedicated to the preservation of these cars now. A few years ago the appreciation wasn't quite there, and you could pick them up quite cheaply. Since then, and what with the onset of cars becoming MOT and tax exempt, the values of them has gone through the roof. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling now. When we get back home, I'll open the garage and we can have a look at my new purchase. So here we are. This is George. George is a 1979, making him a very late registered Series 2 1300 SDL. By 79, other people may correct me, the Mark III had already been introduced. So this must have sat around in a dealer somewhere, unregistered or unloved for a little while, and before finding its first owner. It registered January 79, this one, and remarkably it was only on the road for 3 years before being laid up. The story goes, the owner had a bit of a front end accident. The bonnet was replaced shortly after being dragged out of storage, as was the front grille and I think bumper possibly as well, but there's no other structural damage, so a bit of an odd one that. Since I've got the car, I've just redisplayed the original tax disc. It's the original and first tax disc for the car. It's a 2-door, which is brilliant because they're quite rare now. Super deluxe. So given how old the paintwork is, it's actually come up pretty well. I believe the previous owner repainted the bonnet that he replaced. I think he did the wings as well, but it's actually in pretty good order really, considering how old it is. But a non-metallic colour like russet brown will come up well with a good mop and polish. A few little jobs to do. Bumpers, this bumper could probably do with replacing, but I like it because it shows a bit of wear and tear. Not only one AA sticker, but 2. Look at that. And it's a bit of history for you. Let's take a look inside. Well, here I am inside the Allegro. It's a sea of beige, brown and black, very of its period. This is a genuine Turner car. It was dragged over the barn a few years back, and where am I going with this conversation? I'm waffling. Oh yes. So it was actually only on the road for 3 years, between 79, which is when it was first registered, and 1982. I've actually got all 3 tax lists, which is a really nice thing to have. And when I went to tax it online on the DVLA website, it said tax due 1982, making this a genuine 25,000 mile car. It really hasn't been on the road since that time. So obviously it needs a bit of recommissioning. This morning I've changed the coolant, given it a good flush out. Yesterday afternoon I did the oil change beforehand, so all the vital fluids have been changed. I've gone through the process of doing a few things over the last few days. I've replaced the fuel lines in the engine bay, cleaned up the carburetor and jets. It's running a lot better than it was when I first bought it. It just needs fettling, so a few jobs to do. Fortunately I've got the week off at the moment, so I'm going to be doing a few bits every day. Oh, and there was also dragging caliper on the driver's side front, so I've addressed that, and also cleaned up the passenger side as well, just so they have an equal braking effort, hopefully. Yeah, so just keeping it roadworthy. The advantage of having a car like this, like I said in my introduction, is they're so nice to work on, and there's a huge following for these cars. So if you do need parts, speak to the guys on the Allegro Appreciation Society on Facebook. They're really helpful. One of the things this car didn't have when I first bought it was the steering cowl. Got hold of an old friend of mine, James Butler. He's been amazing, supplying me parts in the past. I've had glass exhaust wings off him, and he had one of these, so he's let it go for a agreeable sum, shall we say. Yeah, so just a little bit more about this car. Lots to do yet. Oh, I bought one more thing, so I'm going to show you that in my... yeah, I'll show you that in a second. Have you guessed what it is yet? This is a hydroelastic pump, or a modern alternative, so because the originals are long since gone, and mostly the kind of thing only a garage would have. This is a do-it-yourself kit, which I've yet to assemble. I bought this to adjust the ride height of the vehicle, so if we have a quick look at the car now, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, if you see here, the rear of the car is a bit low. You compare that to the front. I mean, I know it's on an incline at the moment, but noticeable difference. So the previous owner told me that when he dragged the car out of long-term storage, it was sat on the bump stops, which is not unusual. But he didn't have a pump to get the car up off the ground, so he put an air line to it, because it's the same as a trader bike tyre or car tyre valve, and put air in the system. Face palm. So that got the car up. It then sat like that for a while. He then, before selling the car to me, borrowed a proper pump and did the job apparently properly, but it's still not quite right, and I suspect there's probably air still in the system which needs to be purged. So I intend to hopefully let the car down, drain out what old fluid's in there, and get the suspension back to what it should be. Watch the space. But that's not really the way to do it. In the ideal world, you want to replace the displacers, because the gas in them only has a shelf life of 15 years. So here we have the heart of the beast, the 1275 A series engine. A few things to it since I bought the car. New coil. Purists will notice it's got the wrong battery on there. That's going because I suspect it's faulty anyway, because it doesn't appear to be holding a charge. So I've got the right one on order. But look how original it is. Stickers, stickers, and more stickers. This is alarming. Oh, that's definitely going to have to go. But you activate it by a little lock there. That's going to be a lifesaver. I put this fuel filter before the pump, because if there is any debris in the tank, I don't want it to be sucked up by the fuel pump. So rather than have it by the carburetor, I put it before the pump, which makes more sense. Right, I think that's going to do it for this video. That was just a brief introduction to show you the car. Lots of follow-up videos to come. Next, suspension. Can we get it to ride right? Watch your space. Oh, I'm gone dark. Okay, so yeah, catch you soon.